This is what my Game Boy Color actually looked like as a kid. This is what I thought my Game Boy Color looked like as a kid. What's going on, guys? My name is Adam and welcome back to the Super Effective Retros channel. Today we're going to be talking about this very Game Boy right here. Mentioned in a previous video, this was my childhood Game Boy Color, a teal Game Boy Color, and I look back on it and it just brings such fond memories. Being a 10, 12-year-old, playing Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Gold, Pokemon Crystal. I played Pokemon a lot on my Game Boy Color. Whenever I see it, it brings back so much memories. I thought I'm going to treat myself today and I'm going to mod this Game Boy in the exact same color shell as I had growing up as a kid. That means we're going to add an OLED screen, a brand new shell, but keep the same style and color as we had back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So come along for the ride, guys, as we're going to mod this Game Boy Color. Thought I would jump in here as we get into the interesting part of the build. As we've got our screen on our new shell for our teal Game Boy Color. We've got the circuit board at the back for the screen all secured, the ribbon cable's in, and now we're going to solder the cable that's going to go or provide power to this new screen. There should be a little symbol called BAT at the bottom of that new screen circuit board, which, as you can see, we've just soldered that small cable onto, as that's what's going to attach onto our Game Boy Color circuit board later on. So I'll put a little bit of insulation tape over that circuit board just to make sure we don't get any shorts or anything else that's going to interfere with this build. And now one part I forgot to do before we even put the circuit board into the shell is just to use some clippers and cut off the sharp pointy ends as to where the game cartridge slot is, as they are quite sharp, and because of the way the new screen's going to go in, we just want to be sure that it doesn't pierce any kind of like ribbon cable or basically anything part of the new build. And what we're going to do as well, after we've clipped all these back, is we're going to put some Kapton tape over the top, just to be sure. So there we are, there I am with the tape, just securing it in. And again, it's just to make sure we don't get any shorts. We kind of remove that pointy end of that end of the circuit board, so just so it doesn't interfere with anything. And now we are ready to put our buttons into the shell. So we've got our start and select buttons, which will fit quite nicely into the bottom. Only the membranes for those two particular buttons, but for the arrow directions and for A and for B, we're going to have some buttons to put in there alongside the membranes to go with. Can be a bit fidgety sometimes to get them in, but once you can see those little posts on the shell, it should fit secure quite nicely. And now we're ready to put the Game Boy back into the new shell. Just make sure that one wire and the ribbon cable is pointing up from the top, just to make sure that when you do start securing with screws, you've got some availability to get those in. So there I am, making sure that the ribbon cable and the wire is pointing from the top. And now let's secure those screws into the board, as when we do the last piece of soldering, we want to be sure that the circuit board is not going to be moving away from that shell. So I normally put the Phillips screws in both left, the right and the middle. And now we're going to get to the really interesting part. Well, I say interesting, the soldering part. So I shall leave you to watch how we solder in the cable. And there we have it, guys, a brand new Game Boy Color for 2024 with a screen that we all wish we had back in the 90s. But if you are interested in any of these Game Boys, I mod these myself from the UK. Check out my eBay store. Unfortunately, this one's going to be for me, so you're not going to see the teal one on there. That's going to be one close to my heart. But you can see any other projects I've got on the go right now on my store if you want to find out more. And thank you very much for watching, guys, and I shall see you in the next one.